my name is Carlos Gabriel Ego and Soga. Please like and subscribe my YouTube channel. My mom made this video for you. So watch and study hard.
Another psychological perspective is from Carl Rogers. So it is Carl Rogers actually and his humanistic psychology that gives us a specific understanding, if not a very conclusive definition of self concept. According to Carl Rogers, self concept is the image that we have in ourselves and how exactly does the self-image form and changes from time to time. So he said that these images that change over time develops in a very specific manner, and the image develops in a number of ways, but it is particularly influenced by our interactions with the very important people in our lives. So then what is self-concept? So Carl Rogers said self-concept is how you perceive your behavior, your abilities, and also your unique characteristics. So for example, I would say that for example, what kind of belief do we have or beliefs that we have in ourselves? Okay, in my case, I might say I am beautiful, or I may say I am a good friend, I am a kind person. So um, those beliefs, no, are part of an overall self concept that I have in myself. Although the latter part of being beautiful is just not just my belief, but actually I am stating the obvious there, right? Okay, so going back before I will go farther, self-concept actually tends to be more malleable when we were young or when we are young, and is still going through the process of self-discovery and identity formation at the same time. So it means that as we age, because I guess we are just of the same age bracket, like we're batchmates here. Okay, I'm just kidding, guys. But going on, as we age and we learn who we are and what's important to us, these self perceptions become much more detailed and much more organized. So, at its most basic, self concept is actually a collection of beliefs wherein one holds about oneself and the responses of others at the same time. So it embodies the very answer of the question, who am I? Now, according to Rogers, there are three parts of self-concept, and he said these three parts are the ideal self, which refers to the person who you would want to be. And we have also the self image, and that self image refers actually to how you see yourself, including the attributes like your physical appearance, your personality as well, and your social roles also, and your personality traits. So self-esteem, the third part, is referring to how much you like or how much you accept and how much you value yourself as you yourself, of course, which can be impacted by a number of factors, including how others would see you or how you think you compare yourself to others, and also your role in the society. So that is the three divisions or category of Carl Rogers self-concept. As mentioned earlier, guys, your self concept is not always perfectly aligned with reality, right? So, like in my example earlier, I said, I believe I am beautiful, which is, of course, true. I know you would agree with that. But when I say I am a kind person, I myself doubt that. So, our self concept is not always perfectly aligned with reality. So, when it is aligned, guys, your self concept is said to be congruent. Okay, again, if your self concept is aligned with reality, then we call it congruent. However, if it is the exact opposite and there is this mismatch, no, of your self concept and your reality, so we call it as incongruent. Again, when there is a mismatch between how you see yourself, which is of course your self image, and as to who you wish you were, which is your ideal self, your self concept is incongruent. So, this incongruence, guys, according to Carl Rogers, actually can negatively impact your self esteem. So, he believed that in incongruence has its earliest roots in childhood because of course it is the parents who is responsible for shaping the child's self-concept, and it is also the parents who is primarily responsible for helping a child to establish a very positive self-worth or self-value, right? We talked about it earlier. Now, as Carl Rogers believed that incongruence has its earliest roots in childhood, it is when parents actually place conditions on their affection to their children, only like expressing love to the children if they earn it. Like, I will love you if you will behave in this way, or I am proud of you if you will be able to achieve this uh, grade in your school, right? Like that. So, when parents place conditions on their affection to their children, okay, as the child is growing up, okay, the parents are setting a very high expectations from their kids, and then it is only then when the children will meet these expectations, and then the parents will now show their affection and their love to the children. So children will actually begin to distort the memories of experiences that leave them feeling so unworthy of their parents' love. Because if a parent, for instance, no, let's say I am a parent myself. So if I will do this to my son, you are such a dumb, you're stupid, your grades is too small. How I wish you're not my son, or how I wish I will have another son. So that is a very negative way of showing your love. That is a very negative, if not totally giving my son a good self-worth and a very negative self-concept at the same time. So that is the very worst thing a parents could do to his child. Now, as Carl Rogers have mentioned, it is imperative that parents must see to it that they will hone, they will giving their child a positive self-concept by letting them feel such affection regardless if the child was able to meet their expectations, and that is accepting and loving the child as to what and who the child is, because basically the child is just a child and they're still learning, and there's going through a process of development. Okay, so unconditional love on the other hand actually help the child to foster congruence. So children who experiences such love and such attention from their parents or from their entire family will have no need to continually distort their memories and in order to believe, that others will love them or would accept them as to who and what they are. So, after talking about the three components of self concept by Carl Rogers, let us now proceed to another brilliant psychological perspective in understanding the self, and that is from Costa and Macrae's five factor theory, or also known as the five dimensions of personality. Today, this is a very popular theory, and it is often referred to as the Big Five, because this theory suggests that there are five broad personality dimensions, and take note that each dimension exists as a continuum, and an individual's personality can actually lie at any point on that continuum for that particular trait. So, what are these five traits? According to Costa and Macrae's five factor theory, these are the five dimensions: agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroversion, neuroticism, and openness. So, as an example, if you listed your traits such as cheerful, kind, happy, and helpful, so those might fall under the broad categories of agreeableness and conscientiousness. Now, it is important to remember that uh, each of these dimensions represents a continuum. So, people may be high in a dimensions of such extroversion, while they are also low in a dimension such as neuroticism. So it is where people fall on the continuum for each dimension that helps make up their unique personality. So, what are the big five dimensions of personality? To be very specific, today, many researchers actually believe that there are five core of personality traits, and evidence of these theory has been growing for many years, beginning with the research of D.W. Fiske in 1949, and later, which is expanded upon by the other researchers, including Norman in 1967, Smith also in 1967, and another one by Goldberg in 1981. And lastly, we come up with Costa and Macrae, and that is during 1987. So the big five are very broad categories of personality traits, while there is a significant body of literature supporting this big five factor model personality. Researchers do not always agree on the exact labels for each dimension. So you might find it helpful, guys, not to have an acronym. So we may use OCEAN, which would, stands for openness, conscientiousness, and then extraversion, agreeableness, and of course the neuroticism. When we try to remember the big five traits, or we could have the canoe. Okay, a canoe is another acronym, which of course would stand for conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, and openness, and lastly the extraversion. So to make it easier for us to remember the big five dimensions of personality. Now, take note, guys, that these five categories are actually described as follows. So when we say openness, this trait features characteristics such as imagination and insight. So people who are high in these traits also tend to have a very broad range of interest. So they are very curious about the world and also with other people, and they are always eager to learn new things, and they enjoy new experiences. So people who are actually high in this trait tend to be more adventurous, creative, and People, on the other hand, which are low in this trait, are often much more traditional and may struggle with abstract thinking. So, again, when we say, uh, how would I say it? When we say openness, rather, the people who are high with this kind of trait are very creative, open to trying new things, focus on tackling new challenges, and they are always happy to think about abstract concepts. Whereas people who are low in the openness trait are like, they dislike change, they does not enjoy new ideas, they resist new ideas actually, and they are not very imaginative as well, and they dislikes abstract or theoretical concepts. Now let's move forward to another personality trait, and that is conscientiousness. So when we say conscientiousness, according to this theory, it says that the standard feature of this dimension include a high levels of thoughtfulness, also good impulse control, good directed behaviors, and highly conscientious people tend to be very organized and also mindful of the minute details of everything. So they plan ahead and they think about how their behaviors would affect others, and they are very mindful also of the deadline. So I hope my students are having this kind of traits, conscientiousness. So if you have this kind of personality, you are high, most likely spends time preparing, and you finishes important tasks right away, and you pay so much attention to the detail as well, and also you enjoy having to set a schedule for every activities that you will have. But if you are low on the consciousness trait, then you dislike structures and schedules. You makes messes and doesn't like to care of things, and you fail to return things or put them right back to where they belong, and you always procrastinate important tasks like studying and, like, of course, watching and learning from this video. You would just say, oh, I'm just gonna read that one anyway, I'm done downloading that. Okay, you just keep on saying later, 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 and then you fails to complete the necessary tasks or your assignments, and that is of course studying. Okay, so there. So I hope you guys, you have the high of the conscientiousness personality traits. Now, let's move forward to another dimension, and that is extraversion. So, what is extraversion? According to this theory, extraversion or extroversion is characterized by excitability, by sociability, by talkativeness, assertiveness, and high amounts of emotional expressiveness. So, people who are high in extroversion or introverted tend to be more reserved and have less, how would I say, okay, if you are high in extroversion, you are very outgoing and you tend to gain energy in social situations, and you just love being around with other people, and you also love to help other people. Like, you are so sociable and you like to be with people. You are literally a people person. So that is if you are high with extraversion. Now, on the opposite or on the contrary, people who are low in extraversion tend to be more, yeah, reserved. You are not active, so you have less energy, and you expand in social settings, like you are really not sociable. And so for you, when you are engaging in a social events like partying or having a conference with a lot of people, for you that is not fun, and you feel drained when you are in such social events, and you are really an introvert, and so it often requires a period of solitude and quiet, no, in order for you to recharge. Like when you are in a party, once in a while you have to go to the bathroom, okay, you excuse yourself and you just want to stay there for like a few minutes just to keep yourself calm, composed, and you have to have that quiet moment for you to recharge, because being with a lot of people drains you. Okay, so there. Now, again, when we talk about extraversion, the characteristics, okay, which belongs to high, okay, are the following: you enjoys being the center of attention, you likes to start conversations, you enjoy meeting new people, which is actually good, you have a wide social circle of friends and acquaintances, and actually your acquaintances will basically just become your friends in an instant, because you are that sociable, and then you find it easy to make friends. Okay, now you always feel energized when people are okay, when you are surrounded rather with people. So you are this very sociable being, and you say things before you think about them. Okay, but actually this is not so good. Sometimes we really have to think before we say something. Now, on the low part or the opposite part of extroversion, you prefer solitude. So you feel exhausted when you have to socialize, and you find it difficult to start conversations. Like you are shy, you are meek, you are timid, and you dislike making small talk. Like when people tries to talk to you, then you would just give them a yes, no, no, like that. Okay, you don't expound your answers, or you just tend to directly answer to the very point of the question. You don't like to talk that much. So there. Careful. Also, you carefully thinks. You think a lot before you speak, which is actually good, because we have to be mindful also with the other part. But anyways, that is the low side of extraversion. And lastly, you dislikes being the center of attention, which is exactly the exact opposite with the high part of extraversion, wherein you enjoys being the center of attention. Now let's talk about the agreeableness trait or personality trait. Now, when we say agreeableness, guys, this actually refers to the personality dimensions, which includes the attributes such as oh, I just noticed I forgot to move the slide, forgive me. So there you go. So there. Okay, so as I was saying, when we talk about agreeableness, guys, this personality dimension includes the attributes such as trust, altruism, also kindness, what else? Affection, and also other pro-social behaviors. Like people who are high in agreeableness, you tend to be more cooperative, and what else? Okay, you cooperate and you tend to adhere to what the people would want. Like you kind of try to just go with the flow, that's it. So people with a very low, of course, with agreeableness, you have to be, how would I say this one, you have this trait to be more competitive and sometimes even manipulative. So again, in agreeableness, the high characteristics are the following: you have or one has a great deal of interest in other people. Uh, One cares about others. He feels empathy and concern for other people, and he also enjoys helping and contributing to the happiness of other people. And one also loves to assist others who are in need, or he would just voluntarily and willingly help other people whenever he sees that they are in need of such help. And on the opposite side, on the contrary, if you're low in agreeableness, you take very little interest in others and you doesn't care about how people feel, and you have a very little interest in other people's problem. Sometimes you insult and belittle others, and you also manipulate others to get what you want. Okay, so guys, please don't get me wrong when I manipulate you or when I dictate you to study, because actually I manipulated you in a way that you will study so that you will be able to answer in our exam very well, if not perfectly. And in return, guys, if you would give me a very good or high, or if not perfect score, I will also provide you uh, a very high grade, or if not flat one grade in return. Okay, so me being manipulative here is actually for a good purpose. Okay, to have for us to have a good relationship there. And of course, it's not just having a good relationship, it's also for you really to have good grades, because I really love my students to have good grades. If not flat one, maybe just 1.2, 1.3, 1.5. I know, guys, I believe in you. I know that you can do that. Okay, so moving forward, let's now talk about the neuroticism. So, what is neuroticism? Okay, guys, it is a trait that is characterized by sadness, moodiness, and emotional instability. So, individuals who are high in this trait tend to experience mood swings, anxiety, irritability, and sadness. So, those who are low in the traits tend to be more stable and emotionally resilient. But guys, please, okay, especially to the gentlemen, okay, please listen. We ladies, okay, women, we have mood swings, most especially if we have our monthly visitors, and that is way beyond our control. So just be patient with us. It doesn't mean that we have a high neuroticism. Sometimes we just have to be like that because of the hormonal imbalance. Okay, let us be fair with the ladies and with the women. It is really beyond our control. And of course, women, ladies, let us not take advantage that we have our monthly period, and so we would just act in a very irrational manner, and we will make it as an excuse for having our hormonal imbalance. That's just not fair. That is just plainly cruel. Okay, so questions. Are the big five traits universal? Is the openness, consciousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism universal? So, according to McRae and his colleagues, okay, they found that the big five traits are remarkably universal. And one study that looked at people from more than 50 different cultures found that the five dimensions could be accurately used to describe personality. So imagine that it's not just one, it's not just two, but 50 different cultures are being studied in order to come up with such definite or exact theory, and that is the big five traits theory by McRae. Okay, and another question: what factors influence the big five traits? So, what are the factors that influence the big five traits? So, research actually suggests that both the biological and the environmental influences play a big role in shaping our personality. So again, guys, it is both the biological and our environmental influences that is very much vital in shaping our personality. So twin studies suggest that both nature and nurture plays a role in the development of each of the five personality factors. One study even suggested that of the genetic and environmental underpinnings of the five traits, look at 123 pairs of identical twins and 127 pairs of fraternal twins, the findings suggested that the heritability of each trait was 53% for extraversion, 41% for the agreeableness, 44% of the conscientiousness, and 41% for neuroticism, and lastly, 61 for openness. So the longitudinal studies also suggest that these big five uh, personality traits tend to be relatively stable over the course of adulthood. So one study of working age adults found that personality tended to be stable over a 4-year period and displayed very little changes as a result of diverse life events. So, studies also have shown that maturation may have an impact on the five traits because as people age, they tend to become less extroverted and less neurotic and less to the experience. So, the agreeableness and the conscientiousness, on the other hand, tend to increase as people, grow older. So, I think, guys, with our age right now, nakiedad na gyud ko ninyo ha, batchmates na ta ha. In our age right now, we are still much, much high on the extroverted part. I believe that one. And I know you would agree with me if you would check, no? Actually, there is a test that is being provided in our VSUEE system. So I hope that you would find time to answer it and then check your personality traits. How was it? And then we will talk about it in our next synchronous class meeting. Okay? Now, as very very important note, okay, we have to always remember that the behavior involves an interaction between a person's underlying personality and with the person's situational variables. So the situation that a person finds himself or herself plays a major role in how the person reacts. However, in most cases, people offer responses that are consistent with their underlying personality traits. So these dimensions represents broad areas of personality, and research has demonstrated that these groupings of characteristics tend to occur together in many people. And an example for that one is when let's say individuals who are sociable tend to be very talkative, and on the other hand, however, these traits do not always occur together. So personality, guys, please mind you, personality is very complex and varied in each person, and each person may display behaviors across several of these dimensions. So there is no fixed trait for a person to have, okay? Because as I've mentioned a while ago, there is this continuum, okay? One dimension would overlay the other dimension. So there is this continuum of these dimensions or of these personalities. So another is that if you are surrounded with, a goal getter, guys, a goal getter, not a gold digger, huh? Okay, but somehow when we consider that one, a goal digger may also be a goal getter because they always wants their goal to be achieved. So now let us go back to the exact thing that I would want to tell you. If you're surrounded with a goal getter, you may find yourself very motivated, if not surprised, that you are doing things that are beyond your characteristics or beyond your personality because you are actually influenced by the people that surrounds you, just like what happened in the Squid Game. So if you watch that film, I know I know that and you get what I mean here, that the existing personality that you have may change, or it may vary based on the situation that you are submerged as of the moment. So that is what I'm saying here. Now, assessing the trait theory, guys. Okay, please take note that most theorists and psychologists actually agree that people can be described based on their personality traits. Yes, theorists continue to debate the number of basic traits that make up the entire human personality, while the trait theory has an objectivity that some personality theorists lack, such as, Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. It also has weaknesses, and some of the most criticisms also of the trait theory centers on the fact that traits are often poor predictors of some behavior. So while an individual may score high on the assessment of a very specific trait, he may not always behave in that way in every situation. So another problem when we talk about this trait test, but I still encourage you to take the test for ocean or canoe, the is that sometimes, no, those trait theories do not address how or why such an individual differences in person develop or emerge, because again, some other theories, if you could recall, in the stages of cognitive development, that particular theory explains as to how or as to why we have this particular personality, and it has something to do on the stages of our cognitive development. So there, I hope you were able to understand this big five personality traits theory. And if you have some questions, just take it down. I mean, write it down, and then um, you can ask that one on our synchronous class meeting.